How's everybody doing today? I hope everyone is relaxing and chillaxing. Man, it's been a hell of a week for old perverts, huh? Some good stuff. Good stuff. First, you got Jeffrey Tube out, slapping his hog around while zooming, proving that he just couldn't continue to simulate the 2020 election from the point of view of the legal system and not satisfy his unleashed hog because of how erotic that is. And I understand. Election simulation is intensely erotic. But I think the Rudy Giuliani thing is, of course, hilarious. And I think people are kind of missing the forest for the trees, I feel like, when they're talking about it. Because a lot of people are hitting on the fact that, according to this story, Borat claimed that this girl was 15 and that she took Rudy into another room and laid him on the bed and like he was going to fuck a 15-year-old. And then other people are saying, actually, and apparently they're being paid to say this in swarms on the internet, actually, that's the 15 claim was never made to Rudy Giuliani, that she looked like a young woman and that he had no reason to believe she was underage. And people are arguing that point. And to me, that is a pointless point. Who cares? The reality, think about this situation. Think about the reality of what happened. Rudy Giuliani thinks that he's going to have an interview with some Russian journalist or something. They take him to a hotel room. They talk to him for a while. It's wacky, but whatever. And at the end of it, this young woman just leads him into another room. And what does he do? He immediately just lies on the bed. That's what Rudy Giuliani expects to happen when he has any kind of public interaction. That's what these people do. This 75-year-old gargoyle, he goes into these nice air-conditioned rooms to talk to a bunch of guys named like Ivan Stroganoff about like some sort of money laundering operation or data swap or whatever the fuck shit he's been doing in Ukraine and Russia, whatever, like just money on his grind. And at the end of those meetings, instead of a cheese course, they just lead him into a room and a woman who he has no idea who they are, where they came from, if they've been fucking trafficked or what age they are, just lays him in a bed and just sucks him off. That's his expected encounter in the day. Think about that. Think about how socially conditioned he is to expect that. What the fuck do you think these rich motherfuckers are doing? This is the proof you need that the only thing that's crazy about QAnon is thinking that Donald Trump or anybody else in a position of power wants to stop this. It's just a giant, disgusting power orgy. These guys are doing as they literally suck the vital fluids out of every human being on this planet and turn us into just hollowed out fucking Capri Suns. They enact ritualized conquest and despoilation of humanity through just this wretched and disgusting sexual depravity. And they don't even have to be thinking in these kind of epic ritualistic terms. All they could just be feeling is, how do I fill the hole within me that is made by being a soulless capitalist husk? Like, I am nothing. I am empty of any goodness, any virtue. What can I pursue? And the only answer is selfish pleasures. And what does that mean? It means even when you're 75, you've still got to have some disinterested, maybe sex slave tug you off in a Radisson. That's how fucking empty you are. And that means that your life is it is public and private obscenity and despoilation of humanity. Salo really got to the heart of all of this. And that means all these guys do this. Trump, Bill Clinton, Bezos, allegedly, all of them have turned sexual debasement of people that they have power over into a component of high stakes public and private negotiations of power. Folks, they're gross. They're sickos. Q is correct about that. They are genuine sickos. The problem is that there are no white hats. If there are white hats, it's us. We have to be the white hats. No one in anywhere close to a position of power They are either blissfully unaware of all the ritualized sexual degradation, or they enthusiastically participate in it. Maybe at best they reluctantly participate in it because it's necessary to maintain trust at those high levels of power and intimacy. Any way you slice it, no one in power is going to do anything about this. And the belief that anything otherwise is true is the real fantasia at the heart of Q. All the craziest shit in the Q-universe comes not from that essential insight about power and about the people who wield it, but from trying to make sense of Trump somehow being opposed to it. That's where the crazy stuff comes in. That's where the clones and the lizard people and the fucking holograms, the secret Guantanamo executions, all of that is generated by the need to make sense of the basic fantasy that Trump is in any way really opposed to power and the monsters who wield it, rather than being a perfect exemplar of their class. So it really is important to say, like, what is the Q delusion? It really isn't anything to do with their analysis of, like, who rules power, who rules, broadly speaking, and what they do with their rule, what they pursue with the power they have, the personal indulgence that they seek as their sole means of soul distraction and pleasure. That's all just real good, solid materialist analysis of power. It's thinking that anyone in power will stop it that is madness, and that could only create more madness. And that delusion is powered by the fact that they're Americans, God bless them, and they are ensorcelled to the fantasy of the two-party system, to politics as a meaningful endeavor, and that means that they have to map their deeper understanding on the horrors of power onto this shallow fantasy of genuine partisan conflict, where in reality you just have a organic, osmotic relationship of power within this one organism of the Democratic Republican political party machinery and cultural attachments. I'm auto-tuned. What's going on?
I'm sorry. I was fucking with the mixer.
Oh, that's funny. I am a robot. Hello. I am a robot programmed to party. I am a party bot, and I love to party. But sadly, that's going to be one of the last illusions to die, is the idea that there's genuine conflict, real high stakes conflict between the Democratic and Republican parties. And we're going to have to enact more and more symbolic and then not symbolic acts to consecrate those realities in the face of what's really going on, which is bipartisan rule by the Dracula sex criminal elite. Someone's asking for good books on Gladio. There's not a lot of great books about Gladio. Honestly, all the good stuff is in Italian and untranslated. No. There's two ways to go, though, broadly. There's two books that you can go to. If you want to go dry and academic and more grounded, and also a broader than simply Italy, like more into, like, it has a NATO network, a NATO program of a network of cells within places like Belgium and France and Spain and even Sweden, even Switzerland, even though it was technically part of NATO. They had a Gladio program there. It's called NATO Secret Armies. I believe it's a PDF available on the internet. And then it'll give you that, and it's a little dry, but it'll give you the overview. If you want to get pulpy, though, you got to go with Catholic lunatic Paul Williams' book, Operation Gladio, which it reads like sort of the skeleton of a James Ellroy novel, just the plot stuff without any of the characters of, repressed cops beating up nightclub singers. And there's stuff in there that is much more speculative, including his tale of the possible murder of John Paul I at the hands of Gladio figures, and also the likely Gladio involved involvement in the assassination attempt against John Paul II. It's an undisputed fact of history that the attempted assassin of John Paul II was a Turkish ultra-nationalist Grey Wolf. And the Grey Wolves were one of those Gladio-created paramilitary organizations that sprouted up after World War II. It was directly created by the generals who were the implementers of Gladio in Turkey. And he also was only able to go to St. Peter's Square and shoot John Paul II because he had been arrested in Turkey and imprisoned for the murder of a left-wing journalist and then had just escaped prison. And according to all testimonies, just walking out of it. And then he showed up in St. Peter's Square and shot John Paul II. And like I said, not a lot of sources, but it's all very interesting. It's the indulgent one. And it's also a little, the prose is a little more punchy. But I don't say everything in that book is true. You have to look at everything with a critical eye. But a lot of the wildest shit in that book, you look it up, and it's yeah. The part of the problem is he doesn't have a lot of good sourcing in it. But if you take the time to follow down specific leads named around people and names, it's very interesting. It's a NATO general in Italy was arrested for involvement in the drug trade and did indeed Epstein himself in prison. That happened. The one main witness in the Credit Ambrosiano scandal that brought down the Vatican Bank and exposed the Gladio network and P2 was just poisoned in prison. There wasn't even an attempt to make it look like a suicide. He just drank some coffee that, yes, had a shit ton of poison in it. And no one ever fucking figured out who did it. And they just said, yep, poison. Wild. So if you want to go down the rabbit hole, those are good ways to start. Those are different entry points. But either way, you're not going to know. And I like to, anytime I get into the nitty gritty shit like Gladio or any of the assassinations or even Kennedy or whatever, I always try to remind myself that at the end of the day, this is mostly recreational, because your ability to get to anything like a comprehensive overview of the fucking evidence of that can fill in the gaps, it's not going to happen. And seeking it can kind of drive you crazy. But it is fun. And you have to experience it. I think the best way to do it is fun. And the thing is, it's also constructive because while you're sifting through the conspiracy silt, you could get a ton of gold that you can hang on to. What you mainly have to do is just not have to feel like you have to carry around in your head a resolved answer to a lot of the questions surrounding stuff like this. That it really doesn't matter if you know in your heart whether it's one way or the other. Because when you get to that point, that belief is going to end up being brittle because you're always speculating. And then because it's a brittle belief, you end up having to defend it in public compulsively because you're just anxious about it all the time because you haven't convinced yourself. And that leads you further away from the truth and further towards pointless confrontation to reinforce your ideas instead of just allowing yourself to glide between and just remember what the bedrock is. Between what you think you know about the world and what you know is speculative. And anytime we find ourselves getting really wound up around questions, specifically of moral questions and questions of historical veracity, you have to be able to recognize when you're sort of floating, when you've lost connection to bedrock. And that'll keep you from just keeping yourself on the wrong course. You can stop swimming and just kind of float back towards the shore. I just used 17 metaphors there, and they were all absolute gibberish. I'm such a dumbass. How's it going in the chat, guys? I'm taking a look here, seeing what we have. Oh, man, someone says just Jesse Ventura, and I'm just reminded again of what we lost by him not running as the Green Party candidate. a synthesis of Trump and Bernie, the one we need. Too bad. People say, like, why would Gladio guys want to kill John Paul II? It's not like he was a liberation theologist. He was a good Cold Warrior. Yes, but according to Williams, he refused to bail out the Vatican Bank with money that they could have done it with. They're basically saying that he was because he was not really aware of the whole program. He had sort of come in from the outside. You know, he was a Polak. He wasn't part of the inner circle of American and Italian prelates who were like in P2, even though Catholics are not supposed to join the Freemasons. All these Italian guys were all in P2, but he was sort of outside of it. And so he didn't really know what the Vatican Bank was in terms of this crucial element of the global like arms and drug trade that was financing the paramilitary right in Italy and maintaining the balance of powers that prevented the communists from coming to power. He wasn't aware of that. He was just like, no, we shouldn't do that. That's corrupt. And then that helped lead to a lot of spillage and a big scandal that led to the collapse of a number of the banks, a short-term economic crisis in Italy, and then eventually the revealing of the entire P2 organization and Gladio itself. So you could see why there might have been a motive to perforate that motherfucker and get somebody who would spread the money around and keep things on the QT. But as I said, I don't know. It's fun to talk about. It's fun to speculate about. But I don't know. Yeah, Godfather 3 actually talks about all this shit. And in Godfather 3, they show the fucking John Paul I getting poisoned. And I honestly feel like that one's almost an open and shut case. I feel like he was probably, as close as I'm going to get to confident, I'm going to say that John Paul I was fucking gacked. That this dude coming in here and he wanted to look at the books is the thing. And that was not going to happen. 33 days in the pontificate. But yeah, not over any doctrinal issues, just purely covering their asses related to the giant drug money laundering operation that they had going. That's a thing that I don't think is a question. Whether or not the assassinations happened is up in the air. But whether or not the Vatican was laundering drug money for the mafia and the CIA, I don't think there's a question about that one. Which is kind of nuts when you think about it, because that does sound like crazy conspiracy gibberish. And it often gets put in with other stuff that is more outlandish. But it's basically established fact. And it doesn't change anything. And that's my real problem with conspiracy theory as a heuristic, is that it presupposes that revelation of the secret will somehow change the reality. The end result of every conspiracy narrative is a generalized awareness. It's supposed to end in a congressional hearing or a opening of files or testimony that brings to light a secret reality that people aren't aware of. And that's why Q is the perfect accelerated version of this, because it imagines an apocalyptic revelation. All that you knew, all the people you thought were trusted custodians of power or celebrities are actually demonic creatures bent on your destruction. And we are saving you from them. And that's not how it's going to work. If we're going to beat any of this shit, it's not because people are going to know how bad everything is. The thing about hyperreality is everybody knows, as fucking Leonard Cohen would say. Everybody knows. All the worst thing you could imagine, everybody at a base level knows. If we found out tomorrow that Bush did 9/11, it wouldn't change anything. It would go from a thing that people kind of thought was true to like, yeah, there you go. That figures. We have normalized everything because at a bone deep level, we know, and we just distract ourselves from that reality by carrying out these ritualized political performances that imbue our life with meaning and drama and distract us from that fundamental truth. And so nothing based on like educating people about like what the bad guys did and who they are is going to do anything. Knowledge alone will do nothing. Only knowledge that is generated from action is anything that can be built upon. And that's what comes from people doing things together and finding in the doing of things together purpose. Is the bird drinking? The bird's drinking, Chris.
I've been watching it.
We were worried the bird wasn't going to drink. That motherfucker is guzzling. Very happy to see it. I love a good drinking bird. Don't we all love? Folks, we love it. The bird, he drinks. He's the best. He's the best at drinking. They say he's the best there is. I don't know. I honestly think it might be me, folks. I think I drink better. I drink really good. I use both hands. Never spill a drop. Never get a drop spilled. Ever. Never spill a drop on my tie. The silk ties. Trump seems like he's not happy right now. I think maybe the steroids are wearing off a little bit. Storming away from the 60 Minutes interview, not a good sign. I think he's going to be tomorrow night. I'm very much looking forward to. I think it'll be fun. So here's the thing we were thinking about. I'm going to put this to you guys. I kind of don't want to stream the debate itself just because watching the first one, it really felt like having a hat on a hat to have anyone even commenting, because it was like the shape of the thing was what was funny, and it was kind of felt wrong to interrupt it, and yet we couldn't stop. I was thinking maybe since this is going to be the last one where they're like together in the same room, and that means Trump's going to be rip snorting and hooting and torting, because I really don't think that there's any way that they can pacify him at this point, short of rhino tranks. I think it's going to be an absolute cacophony, and as such, I think it might be better experience just as something you allow to wash over you. But maybe we could do a post-debate react where we just kind of go over some of the highlights. Does that sound fun to anybody? Does that sound like a good idea?
Getting some agreement.
It looks like we're getting good approval on that. All right, let's do that then.
All right.
It'll be at least me and Chris. We'll see if we can get anybody else to go on.
And
I think everyone else was so destroyed by that last debate and so traumatized that they haven't been able to even think about doing another talk about one.
And I can pull up clips and stuff afterwards, and we can watch the highlights. And
I had a great time. I had such a good time watching that debate eventually after I pushed through. But then I had a great time watching the dueling town halls. Honestly, I wish they did that more. It was a vibe, as they say. It was a vibe. All right, so we're gonna do a react. That sounds good. All right, perfect. We'll see who else wants to do it. Remember when Matt did Joker makeup for the Bernie debate? I remember that. That was back during Jokerification, which was the last stage before grill filification kicked in. Oh, God. Remember when I got super drunk? Oh, I really don't. Others do. Poor Chris. Oh, man. I feel so bad about that. That was a real bungle.
Can I make a embarrassing mea culpa for that? I feel terrible about that whole incident, mostly because I was the one who brought the rum. I was the one who said, you know what? Let's get real wild for this. And then I was so consumed with running my first ever elaborate stream that I feel like that was a producerial lapse.
Yeah, but I'm still the fucking disgusting glutton who drank an entire bottle of rum without realizing it.
I was the producer saying that it would be good. It would make for good tape. So I think we can. I want to take like 50% of the.
Okay. Well, I'll take a little load off because it does still bash me a little bit. I just assumed others would be drinking from it, and I didn't notice that I was the only one pouring from it until I was like halfway done, and then it's like the momentum had taken over. Well, I drank the entire thing, and that was overproofed.
Yes, it was overproofed.
That was over fucking proofed. Took the entire thing to the dome. God, yeah, that was. I think that was I'd have not gotten anywhere near that drunk since then. I think that was like the low point for me, alcohol wise, in a while. So I think I'm doing much better now.
I'll take this moment in that recollection to say that we are planning on doing some kind of elaborate election night broadcast.
Absolutely, and I will not be hammered off of rum.
We'll keep it under control and try to put.
No promises. I might be rolling.
Hell yeah.
I might have some acid in me, or I might have Chinese research chemicals. But there will be no fucking handle of rum to the face. That will not happen.
I'll just take this moment to try to promise to put on because I've been feeling very depressed over the last few days that one of the things COVID has taken from us is getting to do a big election night show.
Yeah, that would have been so fun. Fucking COVID, the China virus.
But I will try to put on as big of a best of show as I can from this office.
We're going to be here in the office. We're going to finally get to use this whole set, which Chris had made and which is fantastic. It's going to be like the Dick Cavett show when Peter Falk and John Cassavetes and Ben Gazzara were there. Just a rollicking good time as we watch the election not get called. That's the funniest part. Because there will be no call that night. Unless Biden wins in a huge landslide, there will likely not be a call on election night, which is this is the first time, I think, in a long time that has happened with anyone expecting it to be the case. I think we all had just assumed that you'll get a call before midnight, but I don't think we're getting that this year. Although, there's that whole thing about we're in a position now where a Biden landslide is more likely than Trump winning in any way, So those polls could be, because polls can be wrong two ways. And if they're undercounting Biden in some way, and I'm not saying that's likely, I'm saying it's possible, that you could see a huge landslide. And even with the fucking write-in ballots, you might have you might have enough electoral votes decided to end it then. And honestly, that would be one of the funniest things in the world if we had a goddamn, after this like hugely dramatic buildup about how we're getting ready to reach some sort of civil war type situation, like it's fucking Republican Spain all over again. And then, whoop, it's over. Go back to brunch, everybody. We've switched to a kindly old grandpa instead of a crazy old grandpa. The Chicago 7 episode will be tomorrow. I've watched it. I gotta say, it was entertaining. His movies, I think, are better than his TV shows, just in terms of being entertaining. Because, the shows are what they are, brutal sklogs. His movies, Molly's Game is fun. Few Good Men is a solid 90s programmer. American President's pretty good and zippy and has some good stuff in it. Social Network is a great movie. Charlie Wilson's War is absolute dog shit, but there are good movies among those movies I just listed. There are no good shows among his shows. I think it's because every time he starts making a project, he's locking himself in his garage and just farting, essentially. And it's like the shorter the project, the less time he has to just die of fart inhalation, which is what happens on his TV shows. He just starts huffing nothing but pure methane. And I think with a shorter runtime and shorter character arcs, he's able to sort of trim the fat and keep it entertaining instead of sucking on his own donk. But I think it's a fun movie. It's fine. But the lib shit in that movie. It is pure uncut liberalismo. And it is the purest form of the liberalism. It is quite liberal. Of course, the real hero of the movie is the prosecutor. As that's of course perfect for him. It's just so perfect. So we'll talk about that. If I can get a hold of an HBO Max login, I want to watch that fucking West Wing Hamilton election special that they did that is available now. I don't know why they would leave that on HBO Max if they really wanted to affect the election. Isn't that just proof that this is all stroke-off bullshit? Hey, we're going to inspire America to vote as long as they've already paid $15 a month for some bullshit boutique fucking streaming service for a streaming service. It's not even HBO. Which means the people who are going to watch it are people who already vote. Are you fucking kidding me? This isn't reaching anybody on the fence about voting or voting Democrat. It's just a chance for them all to stroke each other off. Just a giant fucking lemon party of liberal piety. Everybody eating each other's spray. Wouldn't you make that shit free? Wouldn't you put it on YouTube? Nope. $30 a month, proles, if you want to learn how important it is to vote and participate in our electoral system. But I would like to watch it. I would like to see what it is. I wasn't too excited when it debuted because I thought it was just a table read, but apparently it's a whole production. And the Lin-Manuel Miranda is in there. Lin-Manuel Miranda, as we call him in the Midwest. Lin-Manuel Miranda. God, get that nasal. Yeah. What's going on? What's going on? What is a body without organs? My butt. We should do a Chapo election simulation, like the one that was stimulating the erection of Jeffrey Tube out. Everybody plays a different element. Somebody's the deep state. Somebody's Q. Somebody is Nancy Pelosi's blood bag. That'd be funny. I am not Q. Let me just say that. Oh, God. Mitch McConnell's hands. Hands are only supposed to get that red if blood is pooling in them, which is what happens after the heart ceases pumping. Once you die, like if you lie in bed and your heart stops beating, your blood stops circulating in your body and it settles. So if you're lying down, it settles in your butt and in your back. If you were to be hung up, it would settle in your hands. He looks like a corpse on a fucking rope. Why? Why is he alive? How are these eldritch creatures kept living? Did you guys see that picture of fucking Prince Charles's hands, where it looks like he's got a fucking fistful of of beetroot? He's got these big yam fingers that are bright red. He's got the pedophile association signet ring on, and you can't even see it around the fucking throbbing red meat. How are these fucks alive? They are being kept alive by eldritch rituals. It's either literal. I'm either talking because there's two ways this could be true, right? And this is true of all good conspiracy stuff. The stuff that tracks. There's a shadow narrative reality, and then there's the bare, material base that it comes from. And in the case of the unnatural long life of these freakish old fucks, they're using sorcery, right? They're doing ritualistic sacrifice of the innocent to power a satanic machinery of life that fills them unnaturally. But the bare material reflection, reality that gets turned into by the mind is because these guys just get to swim in an ocean of abstracted surplus value that is torn out of everybody else in the world at the expense of their own health and happiness and ability to thrive and have access to material restoration. They're able to have access to the most developed forms of capital in every aspect of technology. That includes medicine. So look at that fat piece of shit, Chris Christie. This tub of ass This guy who's the loser's loser, who been eating Trump's shit for 4 years, who got owned by him in the primary and then simperingly kissed his ass and got his McDonald's in the hope that he'd get in the cabinet, got turfed out of the White House by Jared Kushner because he put his daddy in jail. And how dare he put his wonderful dad, who is an absolute scumbag and huge criminal and 100% guilty, in jail. It's not like his dad was one of the Central Park Five. And then he goes off into the wilderness, grubs around on fucking cable news, and tries out to be a fucking sports radio guy, and he can't even hack that. And then he comes back crawling to Trump, gets COVID because he has to be a alpha like Trump and not wear a mask. And then that guy who is just a giant bundle of comorbidities, a fucking fat turd with asthma, he gets the experimental ultra miracle serum that Eli Lilly has that is not for general consumption. The guy who's the ex-governor of fucking of New Jersey, he has no executive power. He has no need for. What does he do? What's the point of Chris Christie? What is he doing? He is unnecessary. He's going to call into Mike and the Mad Dog and complain about the Cowboys. He's a fucking waste of space. He's lost. His political career is over. His usefulness to the cabal is finished as not anything other than an errand boy, and he still gets the experimental super serum that allows him to survive a fucking COVID diagnosis that absolutely should have killed him, just like the crazy shit they put into Trump, including experimental ape semen and fucking irradiated tiger blood and fucking steroids that would make Seabiscuit's heart explode. He gets to survive. Maybe, who knows how long. He seems like he's running at a high temperature and he could just pop at any minute, but he's still going. And that is the Aldrich ritual. That is their access to this stuff that we don't get. None of us get that. Why? Why are we less worthy of the beneficence of our social product, of our scientific advances, than the fat puck piece of shit ex-governor of fucking New Jersey? And I know people might say that I'm being ableist or lookist about fat people. First of all, I am not a thin man myself. Secondly, I use that just to say that Christie, as a man who has no socioeconomic determiners that might make him larger, a man who has access to all of the highest beneficence of being a high earner in America, meaning access to good food, exercise regimes, the ability to stay healthy. And given the fact that he is driven enough to acquire material power and wealth and influence and position to this, and be focused enough to be a fucking guy, and he's still a piece of fat fucking M&M eating piece of shit. It's proof that he is, like many of our ruling class, just a disgusting, a selfish scumbag, and that none of them have any virtues to speak of, and that their lack of virtue manifests itself in different ways. And in the specific form of Chris Christie, it's in the fact that he's a fucking big fat piece of shit. But anyway, apologies for fatism. It just drives me crazy that more than anything, anyone would feel the need to crack out like the case of the 1796 Rothschild, like the $200,000 bottle of wine for Chris Christie. He has nothing to give anyone, and yet he still gets it because he's in the fucking club. He gets the miracle cure because he's been initiated into the cult of Moloch, and so he gets access to it. So yeah, they are ritually sucking the life of the rest of us and using it to unnaturally extend their own lives. Mitch McConnell would be dead if he was a pharmacist. Donald Trump would be dead if he was a guy who worked at a grocery store. Instead, they all live forever. Yes, Chris Christie was too big to fail, indeed. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? Hey, what happened with the moon? Has the announcement happened yet?
I believe the announcement is coming Monday.
Oh, how are you going to tease me that long?
Well, that's how they get you to tune into NASA these days. You have to.
That's
wait for the
that's
custom
true. They've
announcement.
really learned. They're leaning into the game show host model, and hey, it worked for the president. At least for so long, it has. We'll see.
Yeah, but they're going to drop Moon 2.
It would be so funny if they're like, we're blowing up the moon. Remember that Mr. Show sketch? We're just going to do that.
America can and must and will blow up the moon.
And we're going to do it during a full moon to make sure we get it all. Hey, Mr. Monkey, don't be asking why, because you don't mess around with American pride. C.S. Lewis Jr. Man, that's a good show. Mr. Show?
Mr. Show? Yes.
Formative program for me. Really, helped create my my outlook in many ways. But yeah, what else could it be? They're going to put a base on it?
That would be cool.
They found life? There can't be life on the moon.
I've said this before, but my most nationalist take is that it sucks that we have lost the domestic ability to put Americans into space.
Yeah.
So
if
we
we're
should
going
do
to
it
go
from
out
base.
there, we should invest. We should take it seriously. Don't fuck around, try to privatize it. Anything worth doing is worth doing with the full gusto and weight of a coordinated federal response. And I think that should include moon shit and space shit, because there's a lot to learn there, and there's a lot of stuff that could help us domestically. And it does, but it should be part of a broader, effort that is not this bare bones monstrosity that we see before us.
Yeah, I think it works on the symbolic level to show people that the state is still capable of doing things.
Yeah. Someone wants to grill a Thanksgiving turkey? Good Lord. How could you possibly do that?
Very carefully.
Very good.
Grill on the moon, yes. Before the end of the decade,
We will
an American
choose to grill on the moon, not because it is easy, but because I am hard. I am very hard. I am the president. I am the horny president. My name is John F. Kennedy, and I am the horny president. You know what? He actually wasn't that much hornier than a lot of those guys, though. Although he was in the top quartile, I will say that. But LBJ, also wildly horny. Big time horny. He once said about JFK, quote, "I've had more women on accident than that boy has on purpose." Warren G. Harding impregnated a woman in the Senate cloakroom. That happened.
Oh, I've been seeing earlier in the stream there were a lot of calls that you should put an offer on Quibi, Matt.
Yes. No, apparently they're not. No one's buying it. So
I think
we might be able to get it for pennies on the dollar.
I think that all 6 of us should forego 1 month's salary.
Yeah.
Put an offer in.
I wonder, what would we do with it? Would we keep the idea of it being quick bits?
Just slowly increase the number of bits and decrease the number of shows until you're just putting out one really good show on Quibi.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. Oh, okay. Like all the different shows start off as separate shows, but then you slowly realize that they're all part of one big show, and eventually all the dividing lines between the shows go away, and then it's just one long program, and then it never ends.
Yes.
And it becomes a show that keeps it's oh shit, we just made it. Charlie Kaufman needs to come in on this.
I mean,
Charlie Kaufman's Quibi is what we just described.
People love that shit. People love tracking out extended universes, realizing that one character in one show is like the aunt of another character in another show.
Yeah, no, that's
and,
it.
Solving shows like puzzles.
That's Charlie Kaufman presents Quibi.
Yeah.
We got to get him as creative director. Charlie Kaufman with a Q. That's what we'll call it.
Charlie Kaufman.
Looking at my cards here.
Folks, I was talking before the stream that the Desert Storm trading cards have been a great source of fun and riffing on the stream. But there's only so much juice that Desert Storm has. Can anybody suggest another thing that would be just something we could pull randomly of that would like a Desert Storm trading card to inspire tangents? Garbage Pail Kids. I'm sure you would be disgusted by the horrible Garbage Pail Kids, Matt.
Pathetic. No, I actually had I had a large Garbage Pail Kid collection in my home when I was a child. And then one day my skunk of his younger sister, went in and took them all off took all the stickers off the backing.
Oh.
I was furious. But I really enjoyed them. I enjoyed the Garbage Pail Children. They were disgusting and hideous, but I thought they were cute. I liked them a lot. They were awesome and epic, I think. And a lot of them were very gross. Like they got really serious. Like some of the art in those things, you've got real grotesque shit, like shit and viscera and blood and guts. But I remember they did a reissue of them a few years ago, and I bought a pack out of nostalgia, and they were like updated, and there were references to like Gangnam Style and fucking like Varble movies, and I was like, oh fuck this. Get out of here. Terrible.
So somebody suggested QAnon trading cards, which I didn't know if it was real or not, and I had to look it up. And there are apparently QAnon trading cards in the style of something else we've talked about this, Magic the Gathering. And I think if I could get my hands on one of these, I would love to bring them in.
That sounds awesome.
The ones they have displayed is Flynn, who is a creature type former U.S. Army general -- patriot. They also have a Hogwash, former Parkland student -- trader, David Hogg. He's, of course, in the swamp
fucking
category.
hog.
I think we should get our hands on some of these.
We need those. Must cop, as the kids say.
I'll see if I can I can track some down.
There's one here that I enjoyed out of this pack. It's personnel, U.S. Navy SEALs. Having their roots in World War II, sea, air, land SEAL teams are trained in unconventional warfare. They perform reconnaissance, underwater demolition, and special operations in coastal areas. Like Afghanistan. Highly mobile and lightly armed, they rely on stealth, concealment, and surprise to accomplish most operations. This elite force's members are highly educated and physically fit. I just wanted to show this because the actual picture is a couple of beefcakes with no shirts on the beach. It's like it's not a dude in an outfit with his his scuba suit and a MP5 or something. It's just some hunks doing the volleyball scene from Top Gun. They do. I gotta say they look pretty hunky, but none of them are looking at the camera because you have to maintain OPSEC, which I respect.
Matt, did you see the that video from the Egyptian army that was going around the other day?
Oh hell yeah, the parade of beefcakes. Oh man,
I'm trying to find that real quick.
CC's Egypt is on one, man. They're really having a good time over there. God, there's got to be something freeing about just having naked military rule, like not even pretending to put a patina of politics on it. Like, oh yeah, the army just runs everything. That just feels like kind of soothing. And then what do you get out of it? You get parades of beefcake. You get sweet beefcake parades. And we love to see it.
Okay, let's see if I can bring this up. Hunks.
Let's look at some of them beefcakes. It's raining men. Hallelujah, it's raining men. Hell yeah, it's raining men. Hallelujah, it's raining men. Yeah. Look at those boys. Look at those beefy boys. Does it have a soundtrack?
Let's see.
Absolutely soaking wet.
They are ripped.
These guys are ripped. I gotta say, if I was the false government of Libya standing in the way of the glorious General Haftar, I would be quaking in my boots.
All right, folks. Any questions in the chat? Thoughts on Bolivia? I thought we covered Bolivia twice this week.
Yeah, Bolivia. I think we got our words out there on Bolivia. It's all as usual. We'll see. That's how it all boils down. But it's certainly I think better than the alternative in every respect for now. So that's good.
I want to shout out. This was way back when Matt was talking about the Pope, about how the assassination of the Pope was obliquely referenced in the New Pope. New Pope, Young Pope, great series. Highly recommend both of those. I got Matt to watch the Young Pope, which he didn't really care for, but New Pope you were pretty into.
Yeah, I couldn't really vibe with the austere hair shirt Jude Law Pope. I was much more on the same wavelength with the erotic, sensuous, indulgent Pope, John Paul III, played by John Malkovich. I was like, okay, this guy wants to seduce people into Catholicism. I'm vibing on that rather than fucking Jude Law trying to get you all to just revert to your childhood stage by spanking you abruptly on the bottom. Absolutely soaking wet. Thoughts on AOC and Ilhan Omar's Twitch stream? I don't know if I have any. Did any of them have heated gamer moments? It seems to me like Twitch, a lot of people on Twitch, a lot of young people, better to have them seeing that than to see fucking PewDiePie doing playing a fucking Holocaust simulator. I mean, I guess that's better than the alternative, but it seemed like it launched. It was the game that launched 1,000 soy faces. I'll say that. People were just soy facing hard over that.
It's nice to have fun with some of the better.
But it's fine. People who got upset about it, it's like, come on. It's like, why shouldn't you be yelling at Nancy Pelosi? It's like, come on, man. Come on. That's just like, why is Obama golfing so much stuff? It's like you're looking for something to get mad at.
I did appreciate Elon today retweeting Jordan Ohl saying, "Holy shit, Elon is cracked at this game." Just because I think it's funny for a congresswoman to retweet somebody saying "holy shit" about their own gaming skills. I also like that Elon posted her rig specs.
Yeah.
She is cool.
She's pogged. You know, she's pogged up.
Maybe it is taking a lib position, but it is okay to say that some Congress people are in fact cool.
Elon is specifically cool, I think, regardless of any question about the political project. She's pretty cool. I mean, we met her, for God's sake.
Yeah, we met her
and
twice.
She was cool.
She was very cool, and more importantly, she was nice specifically to us. Which
That's
means
a big
that she
thing,
is a good
though,
politician.
right there. It's amazing how that helps. It's like, you know what? This person I met and was nice to me, she's pretty great. But, I think, honestly, being nice to me is a good reflection on other people, frankly, because I'm a delight. People who don't like me in public, honestly, it's usually a problem with them because I'm charming. I'm a charming gentleman. Guys, did you know that Adbusters is still being made? Are you aware of this? You hear about this, Kevin? You hear about this? They're still making Adbusters, man, in 2020. I mean, this is like if they made a magazine for the Japanese guys who stayed in the mountains in the islands for 20 years after World War II.
I'm now just thinking of the lost Ronin of Gen X.
Yep.
Those still maintaining the poise that chain coffee is going to destroy this country.
Like it's what it was the leftism of the end of history. It was like we did feel there was no alternative. So the only point of rebellion was the wrong aesthetics, essentially. Like, this society is commodified. I mean, it's just a reset. It was a setting of like the one-dimensional man Marcus critique of like the of the conformity of the 50s, just like synthesized further through the crucible of the 60s cultural revolution. But look at this. It got 1946. It's got a Thanksgiving dinner, a family around a table enjoying a wholesome meal that is proof of the work and love of people for one another. 2020, that's right. eating damn McDonald's at the frickin' McDonald's store, eating frickin' Big Macs. That says so much about society. Here's a good question I think we should all be asking ourselves. Will high fashion suddenly look stupid, or will our luxury fantasies and hyper individuality grow even more intense?
Damn, dude.
What do you get? What do you got?
I'm going to go with intensification of fantasy.
You're going to go with intensification?
Yes.
Okay, that'll be interesting. We'll see, won't we? I'm looking at some of these pictures. They're of hunks.
Is there a centerfold in this?
There's a few hunks. I gotta say, there's some hunks in here. Check out these hunks. These are the anti-consumer hunks right here.
The babes of anti-consumerism.
Yeah. Some cheekbones on display right here.
Oh, damn.
See, like it looks like a fashion magazine, and you're like, oh, is this the latest fashion? Wrong. No, it's not, because some of the letters are scratched out. It's been hacked. It's been ad busted. I got to say, though, guys, ad busting makes me feel good. I don't know about you. Have we gone an hour?
We're almost at an hour. I'm waiting to see if there's any
let's wrap it up shortly.
Any more questions? Any more good ones? Adbusters, but for balls.
You've been culture jammed. I'm afraid you have been culture jammed. Here's a thing called the Mental Liberation Front. And it's got this thing. I didn't sign up for total surveillance. Yes, this is detornment. This is some detornment. This shit's detornment as fuck. This shit's detornment as fuck.
Let's maybe, because we're talking about the debate a little in our plans for, let's do just a quick debate preview. Somebody asked, do you think Trump will go all out at Biden tomorrow since it's his last major appearance? Like, what is the end game?
I got to assume that they're keeping him going on steroids, so he's going to be zooted, and he's going to be, the blood's going to be pumping. He's going to be on that wanted shit, and like James McAvoy gets the super high, and he's like, the things start, vision blurs. He's going to be on that shit, and he's going to see Biden, and he's going to be like, I got to fucking just stiff this old man. And apparently there's going to be a mute button. Is that what I heard?
Yes. Mods have a mute button.
It's going to be hugely affected, and what's going to be very interesting to see is how Trump reacts to that, because that's a first that has never happened to him before, and I don't know how he accommodates that, if he's going to be able to stop himself from just charging into the red cape of the bullfighter. Well, we shall see. We shall see.
Didn't they also agree last minute to make it just a foreign policy debate?
He demanded that. I don't know if they agreed.
All right, because that felt like a bit of a punt for him.
He doesn't really want to talk about COVID, I'll say that. And he does want to talk about Ukraine, specifically Hunter and his crooked dealings. Sorry, guys. Everyone likes Hunter. And everybody likes, what's his name? But Joe. Everyone likes Joe Biden, too. He's the opposite of Hillary Clinton. It's like, this really does show, we act like these things have some sort of logic to them. Like, even if Trump is an incoherent and frankly pathological political phenomenon, it's understandable as a rejection of Clintonian Obama-esque DLC centrism, which holds no hope for anybody. But now it's 4 years later, and the same fucking centrism is being brought back out, but because it's a genial old man instead of that harpy who, frankly, a lot of people didn't like, some for good reasons, some for genuinely sexist reasons, it's okay now. In fact, it's great, and we love it. The political system is so many fucking levels of mystification and baffling that we really must try to restrain our desire to pan too much meaning out of who wins these fucking elections, because people are voting off of the most obscure and mind-bending rationales that collectively I don't think add up to any kind of like desire on the part of a collective as much as sort of a collective expression of its sanity.
Well, it's also as you were just saying, it's you can much easier say that Hillary lost 2016 than Trump won it.
100%.
I think that you'll be able to say the same about this if it goes towards Biden, that it isn't as much that
Trump lost it,
that Biden won the election than Trump
100%.
Though we'll see if that pans out. Who knows how these totals and splits are going to go. Maybe there is a huge surge in Democratic turnout, and but even that is something to argue that it's all just polarization against Trump, that people are showing up in huge droves not to vote for Joe Biden, but to vote against Donald Trump.
There's no way that Biden can be the source for any of this, one way or the other. Even if you see a massive tidal wave of an election, it will not be because of Biden, which is the way they want it. They want it to be about Trump because that means anything they do is by definition good because it's not Trump doing it. And, hey, if you think it's not good enough, do you want Trump to do it? Because he's there. He's waiting in the wings, him and his followers. If not him, the next version. There will always be someone there to discipline you away from criticizing or falling away from the Democratic project.
Yeah. And the worse it gets, the more you can be chastised.
Indeed. It such is.
But I mean, I don't want to draw this out too long. We should sign off soon. But it is just interesting to see how that dynamic plays out of being trying to position ourselves as it's not going to be good, but we, the Democrats, are this bulwark against some kind of incipient fascism that will roll over us like a tide from an unleashed dam if you don't vote for us, coupled with what you're already seeing. And this has been uptick just even in the last 2 weeks. So much of the attitude of, man, I can't wait to go back to not paying attention to not thinking about that.
Even though all the
motivated.
things, all the bad things are only getting worse and on a fast, accelerated timetable, and the need for people to be activated against them in some way, and by being activated, find a way, are instead going to retreat even further into fantasy. In fact, just another realm of fantasy where they get to disconnect from their imagined connection to politics whatsoever. Because, oh my God, that whole time they were freaking out about Trump, they could have logged off. They could have stopped caring. They didn't because they enjoyed it. Because it got their fucking rocks off. And defending Biden against the blood tide that he's about to unleash is not going to get their rocks off. So they'll just care about something else.
Which is exactly why I've signed off from the time being for listening to Pod Save America, but I can't wait to start listening again after a Biden victory, because I can't wait to see how they're trying to engage their crowd of people who they've been corralling this entire time, being like, we absolutely, you have to stay engaged. We absolutely must. The work is forever. You are a soldier in the army of democracies, and that's also their success is being that. I can't.
The one thing that I think that might come, my only positive I see coming out of this is that I think and I hope that phenomenon will be less prevalent on the actual left. Mm-hmm. And that the actual left
is now
will be in fact engaged to compelled now to engage this new reality of this feckless democratic hunger chancellorship, and that will power them against an opponent that will be demobilized. That's the hope.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give.
Is it going to happen? I don't know, but it could. It's realistic. It's not pie in the sky. It's just it comes down to a lot of other factors. But I could definitely see the immediate failure of the Biden campaign to do anything other than whatever your worst nightmares of it were going to be, not driving people to move forward. Because even if they're doing it libidinally, their libido has already been jazzed by the fight and by the defeat. They're already committed to it. So it's just a further, stab to the groin. Whereas for the liberal, when you've made it your architecture that democratic rule is by definition, peace and justice and an ideal state, the closest thing to a Panglossian best of all possible worlds, then how can you keep caring?
Yeah.
So I think that's hope.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. It's a thin read, but the only reads we have are pretty thin at this point.
I'll leave you guys with this. I just took this off of my jacket. These just came in the mail today. They're demo mock-ups for some new Chapo pins, lapel, or little pins that you can put on your shirts or backpacks or something. And these will be on sale soon, and they look really sick, and they're nice and heavy, good metal, and everything. So Yeah, looking forward to that. Anyway, should we sign off, Matt?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'm going to throw on a song, but say goodbye, Matt.
Bye-bye, Matt.